Hi everyone, here's what's bothering me today. Already here in Canada, in the wake of the London, Ontario, pretty much terrifying hybrid of hate crime and terrorist attack, the narrative that the media is trying to construct is already trying to obfuscate the clear instance of white supremacy that this is. The picture that they were using in the media of this Nathaniel Veltman in the news. It's of him doing a run and talking to people saying, well, I grew up with him and he just seemed, or, I worked with him and he was just a nice guy, never got in any trouble with the law, just seemed so nice. Gosh, I'm really shaken by this. I can't believe it. Being nice doesn't fucking matter because you can be nice and still do terrible, evil things. Niceness is not an excuse for racism, bigotry, and terrorism. We Canadians are nice, and yet we steal vaccines from people. We absolutely continue to discriminate and sterilize our Indigenous populations. We love to talk about, oh, we're so nice and welcoming until it really comes down to it, and many of us are not. We will happily elect racists to power. We also have a very serious problem where, with regards to this narrative, and people say, oh, it's so shocking. Yeah, this is kind of how A, radicalization works, and B, again, people can be nice and still be monsters. Hitler was kind to pets. Jeffrey Dahmer was nice to people and came across as friendly. Osama bin Laden probably cracked jokes. Being nice is not an excuse. It is less than nothing. It doesn't actually matter. And yet it's always in here. And again, to a lot of these people who are, oh, geez, I'm so surprised that this seemingly nice white person that I knew would go to these extents and would just be outed as a white supremacist and actually take people's lives for their faith. It's shocking. He was so nice. Yeah, to you, because you're part of his race. If it was, say, my dad that he had to interact with, things would probably be a little tense. If it was Indigenous people, maybe a little tense. Dude just straight up murdered 4 Muslim people for no reason other than being Muslim. And people have the audacity to call him nice and try and defend him or not defend him, but to humanize him. And that's really the problem, right? We always do this when it's a white person who has committed a heinous crime. No, look, they helped out at charity or soup kitchens and they did all these nice things for me. They pulled my truck out of a ditch that one time. They're super nice. It doesn't matter. What matters is what they ended up actually doing, which in this case is a clear motivation for a hate crime. And yet people are still using this narrative of, no, it was... he was mentally ill. Some people even have the gall to refer to it as a hit and run rather than a clear targeted hate crime. It is beyond bothersome. It is downright infuriating because this narrative shouldn't matter. And yet it's always the narrative that prevails because a lot of these people who worked with these white terrorists basically always think that, well, they were so nice. They were so nice. Yeah, because your perspective of their niceness is focused solely between the two of you. And in which case, chances are you're probably both white. And that's a thing that a lot of people aren't going to really realize. And it's also a problem that many of us, in having to watch this narrative play out, there's no way to fight back against that. Because a lot of people consume this media, and this is coming from our quote-unquote unbiased media. The big ones like CBC and CTV are all pointing out how, geez, look at this guy. How could this have possibly happened? Have you looked around on Twitter lately? Have you looked at YouTube and the alt-right pipeline? Have you seen how easy it is for young disenfranchised white people to be radicalized to the point that they are perfectly happy to think that an election was stolen and they're going to go and destroy a Capitol building and kill some cops in the process This is what radicalization can do, and yet this never becomes a part of the conversation. Where's the part of the conversation that shows that Nathaniel Veltman is a scumfuck piece of shit who committed a hate crime? Where's the coverage that actually, if it's going to try and use this narrative of what happened to the poor boy, then talk about the radicalization, if and how that happened. Instead, we have to see piece after piece and picture after picture trying to humanize the guy rather than showing his mugshot and treating him like the terrorist and the absolute bigot that he is. That would be the true, objective, and fair coverage. But we live in a white man's world, which means the white man's perspective is always given first place and it is always coddled. And the fact that this continues to this day, including in progressive Canada, is definitely what's bothering me today.